Hello and welcome to this closing session of Orkney Aviation Festival. It's hosted by Orkney International Science Festival, and over the past 2 days we've been enjoying hearing aviation stories of the past, of the present, and looking into the future. And if your appetite for taking off into the skies has been whetted, but you think it's not for you, well, don't give up. This, in fact, could be just the beginning. There is a remarkable charity called Aerobility. It was formed in 1993 with a single purpose. In fact, I'll read the very words: to offer disabled people without exception the opportunity to fly an aeroplane. We're going to hear more about it with its chair, Shona Bowman. Shona, welcome to you.
Hello, Howie.
And I know that you are the absolutely ideal person to chair an organization like this because you fly big planes, small planes, old planes, new planes. In fact, you've a great deal of experience in aviation.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have access and contacts and just fly everything and anything, whatever I can get my hands on, I'll fly.
Now, your day job, it's British Airways?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
What kind of aircraft?
So I'm a captain on the short-haul fleet, so based at London Heathrow and flying the domestic routes up and down to Scotland a lot, but also into Europe. Most of the European cities that we serve, I will have been to at some point.
But your flying extends to your spare time, in particular, one very special aircraft.
Yes, I am very lucky to be flying Dragon Rapide, which of course everybody in Orkney knows well and is incredibly fond of, as am I. Yeah, I'm very lucky to fly for another airline called Salonia Airways, who exist purely to keep the aeroplane flying and to do the odd pleasure flight where we can across the country.
Now, what's it like to switch between a big modern aircraft with all the technology there and a crew of people geared up to operate the technology, and then something smaller, earlier, and much simpler? Well, much simpler sounding, but I guess not necessarily much simpler to handle.
It's very difficult. People often ask me how they compare, and to be honest, they don't compare. They're very, very different beasts. Both great. I very much enjoy both. Flying the Rapide is probably more challenging as a pilot. You require a bit more seat of the pants flying, as it's quite often referred to. Very much using so autopilot. It's very much you and your skill. The Airbus is far more system driven and automatic, but the Airbus got an awful lot more than go wrong. So the Airbus is probably easier to fly, but more can go wrong, whereas the Rapide is harder to fly, but it's more simple.
Does it take a little bit of time to switch from the one to the other, almost to slightly think or react in a different way?
I think, to be honest, when I'm at work, I'm very much in work mode. We operate very much to standard procedures the whole time, and so that is a very different beast. So yeah, I mean, it's flying. I still get the same buzz when the wheels go off the ground, whichever airplane I'm in, and not just the Airbus and the Rapide, but any airplane. It's the same buzz. But yeah, they don't really compare.
Now, I suppose if one was thinking about your family history, there was a degree of inevitability about the fact that you would become a pilot.
Yeah, I mean, people ask me how I got into flying, and I always reply, well, I was born into it. I was very fortunate to spend my childhood on airfields. My dad was also a commercial pilot for British Airways. My mum was a private pilot and flying instructor, and I'm one of 3 girls, and we spent every weekend on the gliding sites. We all learned to fly when we were still at school, and went solo at 16 in gliders, and I then went on and soloed in a power plane. Got my pilot's license at 17 before, in fact, I got my driving license. So yeah, it was very much part of every weekend. It's just what we did.
And indeed, it goes back a generation or two further, doesn't it?
Yes, my dad's father was an aeronautical engineer, and so aviation, I think, has always run through in the family history.
And the family, indeed, it's the Buchanans that were at the present building is the Royal Bank in Kirkwall.
Yes, that's right. Yes, I mean, I'm delighted to say that I've got very strong Orkney connections. I'm very lucky to still have a house in Orfa, which I regularly visit. But yes, my great grandfather was known as Old Buck, I think, affectionately to a lot of people, Fred Buchanan. And his father was an Angus Buchanan. There's Angus Buchanans throughout my family. So it was his father, Angus Buchanan, that had been the banker. And I think many people, I'm sure, will know is famed for being the try scorer in the first ever rugby international game ever played, which was Scotland, England. And pleased to say Scotland were victorious on that occasion. And that was, in fact, 150 years ago. They marked the celebration of that event this year at the Calcutta Cup, which, again, Scotland were victorious in.
And indeed, the name of the battery in Flotta, that's a direct connection?
Yes, that's named after Fred Buchanan, who was my great-grandfather. And my grandfather, Sanderson, or Sandy Buchanan, he was the lecturer in aeronautics, so he was born in Orkney but moved away and then retired back up there. So my personal connection has been visiting them when they were still alive in Orfa, and then it's carried on with keeping their home. So yeah, there's definitely a strong Orkney pull there that won't ever go away.
Well, with such a feeling of flying through several generations in the family, you also, through Aerobility, have put a lot of effort into encouraging people in all kinds of physical conditions to fly. And I was wondering, well, first of all, how did the idea of this develop?
Well, in all honesty, I need to credit my very dear friend, Mike Miller-Smith. So as teenagers, the two of us were kicking around on the airfields, both determined to become airline pilots and build our experience as we can, flying small single engine airplanes, launching gliders. And as you do when you're in your late teens, you think you're reckless. So we went and got all the hours, and we passed the exams, and only then did we think we should probably get the medical and make sure we were both fit and okay. Thankfully I was, but at that point Mike realized that he actually suffers with muscular dystrophy, which is a degenerative disease, and slowly over the years that disease has robbed him of his mobility, but not of his love and passion and drive and desire to go flying. So as we developed ways of getting him in and out of aeroplanes through hoists and through various aids, we thought, well, if we can get him flying and he's loving it, we should try and get other people flying, and they'll love it. And Mike went out and found there was a disabled flying club, but it was mostly just a group of guys. Most had been pilots before, and then they've been disabled through accident. But we thought, well, we want to make this available to all. And so really from there, the seed was sown to start Aerobility, which is now a registered charity its own right. Mike continues to work tirelessly. He's the CEO of the charity. And I was the first flying instructor that we had. We just had one aeroplane, and we took as many people as we could flying. But as the charity has grown, and the availability, the number of people that have found out about us, and thankfully hence also some of the fundraising people have done for us, has enabled us to expand. And we've now got our own base at an airfield in Hampshire, Blackbush. But we're nationwide. We try and reach out to different flying schools around the country as well to encourage people to fly. So yeah, it's been a small sort of idea that's grown into a fantastic organisation now.
And you've got several aircraft and you operate from several bases.
Yeah, exactly. So our main base is at Blackbush. We've also operated in the Midlands at an airfield at Tainton Hill. But our idea, our eventual goal is to really regionalise as much as we can. And where there is demand, we'll be able to take an aeroplane there and offer people lessons. And yeah, I think the sky is the limit, as they say. And so that's our aim, to get everybody as that can and wants to get into an aeroplane.
Now, how do people come to you? Is it like through flying clubs, or is it more general?
Yeah, I mean, good old internet, Google searches, we're there as much as we can. We also have been, obviously not in the last 18 months, but we normally attend events. So we'll be at air shows. We'll take an airplane to the air show, show people how our aircraft are adapted, and they can get a chance to maybe come and sit in the airplane, have a feel for what that's like. And it's really, it's getting the word out there. It's getting to public events, and we've been lucky enough to be followed by some news channels, or we had an appearance on the BBC's One Show at one point, and that really got our interest levels up. So generally, I think if you do a Google search of Aerobility, you'll find us and you'll see what we're up to and how to get in touch.
Now, adaptation, that must take quite a lot of thought and care. And I was thinking, for instance, if I was in a wheelchair and I wanted to fly, well, it's quite a step up then from the ground into the aircraft, which could sometimes be quite a narrow, confined space. I mean, how do you adapt for just that as one situation?
Yeah, as one situation. Well, I mean, we find for a lot of people who are wheelchair users, actually the barrier to getting into an aeroplane isn't a fear of flying. It's an uncomfortable fear of being out of the safety of their wheelchair, and generally somebody will be used to hoisting in and out of bed and into their wheelchair, but very rarely will hoist anywhere else. But because we're a user-led organisation, most of the people involved in Aerobility are disabled themselves. We understand that, and so we've got incredible hoist systems that we can put a sling under somebody. We can very safely lift them from their chair into the aeroplane with minimum fuss in the comfort of the hangar, so they don't have to feel that people are watching. Once in the aeroplane, they're sat in an aeroplane. It's no different to an able-bodied person sat in the aeroplane. We put the straps on, off they go. If it's somebody with reduced lower limb mobility or amputee, not a problem, because we have an adapted system, so that instead of using your feet to control the rudders, there's a hand control for the rudders. So much as a car is adapted for disabled use with hand controls instead of pedals, the aeroplanes at Aerobility have been adapted the same way.
We hear about different types of technology developing, and how people, for instance, Stephen Hawking would be the example that people think about it. totally amazing what he could do. Is technology moving forward and opening up further possibilities for what could be done with flying?
I'm sure it can. I mean, Mike, who I was talking about earlier, he operates an incredible voice activated controlled PC, and I think things like that could be adapted into aircraft where a lot of things now are touch controlled. That makes things easier. But iris controlled mouse on a computer, that's all stuff that I'm sure could be adapted into aeroplanes for definite.
I was going to ask what the experience is like for somebody who, say, has been confined to a fairly limited space on the ground. What's it like then to get the freedom of the skies?
I mean, I'm very lucky to instruct for Aerobility as well, so I get to fly with people and really see firsthand the difference that it makes. It's such a I say a level playing field, but it's almost more than that, because to learn to fly, to go flying, is something that most able-bodied people will never do. And so for somebody who disabled may have been told they can't do things on far too much regular occasion, actually to be told yes you can, and yes you can learn. And I mean, one of the best things I absolutely love is if we have trained somebody all the way through to get their own license, and so they've come to the airfield, they've hired the aeroplane, and they, as a disabled person, are taking their able-bodied friends and family flying, and it's just incredible to give people that opportunity to to realize their potential. And we definitely know that that has knock-on effects. Somebody who maybe has never bothered to learn to drive, or hasn't actually been able to go out and seek employment, will realize that, it's one of our sort of favorite cliches, but if I can fly a plane, what else can I do? And we feel that a lot. And it still comes down to me on a personal level. I just love being in the air. I love flying. I love that feeling of being completely in control yourself, and not confined. And that's me as an able-bodied person. So I would think that's probably magnified 100% for somebody with a disability.
And do you find that when somebody starts to fly like this, it really catches them? They want to continue, they want to learn more about flying, just to go as far as they can? Yeah,
I mean, flying is it's a passion, it's a hobby, it gets under your skin. And I think anybody who goes for a fly once and feels the controls themselves ends up wanting more. It really does get under your skin, and that's why it's so nice that is the same regardless of who we fly, able-bodied, disabled, it doesn't matter. And that shared passion means when we all get back to the airfield at the end of the day and sit around chatting, the pilots love nothing more than, if they're not flying, they want to be talking about flying. And I think that's just great. The banter in the crew room, and the laughter, and the how I done it, and what the weather was like, or what your landing was like, it's all part of the, I suppose it's a bit like golf. When people go back to the bar and want to talk about their round of golf, we all want to get back to the bar and talk about our flights.
And do you find you get a good response, support throughout the aviation industry? Because I can imagine there'll be various times when you need somebody to help with something, maybe some piece of equipment, maybe some piece of advice.
Yeah, I mean, Aerobility as a charity is completely funded by donations, and we get no support from any sort of official channels, but we are very lucky to have corporate support from individual companies, as well as individual people who go out and fundraise for us, people who run a marathon, or just recently we've had people that have been wing walking, and we're about to have people go skydiving. But the corporate support is great, and especially from the aviation sector, we're lucky to have really good relationships with companies like NATS, who are the National Air Traffic Service, and Breitling, the famous watchmakers. And 2XL is another company that have been huge supporters of us, and it's what's great is it enables Aerobility to get into some really sort of leading industry and tell our story. And I think once we tell corporates what we're up to, nobody can say no. It's a great charity to show off, because I think it's unique, and it's offering something no other charity is offering, and it's exciting.
And how have the numbers been over the years?
Well, they've got bigger and bigger. The more we've been able to deliver, the bigger we've got. We're always limited by funding, in all honesty, and I think if we could get more funding, we would. I mean, we all know that there are thousands and thousands of disabled people out there who would love the opportunity, and we'd like to give everybody a chance. So yeah, it can go as big as you can imagine, I think.
Indeed. What would your hope be then, if some source of significant funding came? What would be the next development that you would like to do?
Well, we're actually in the middle of another project. It's called Project Able, which is a project to return a fleet of aircraft that were decommissioned by the Royal Air Force. Their basic training aircraft motor gliders. It was called a GROB 109. We've called it the 109 Able, and it's been adapted in terms of a new engine and repurposed for flight. We are hoping that with those aircraft, we will be able to regionalise and end up such that we've got aeroplanes scattered throughout the country at flying schools that operate them on our behalf, so that rather than somebody phone up and want to book a trial flight and find that they can't get down to us, then we can have an aeroplane locally and instructors available and take people flying. So you never know, we might be able to get one up to Orkney one day. That would be amazing.
Well, indeed, that's such a neat idea then, to get older aircraft and to give them a new life and then put them into new service for others. Yes,
that's the plan. That's our goal. We've got we're going to be repurposing some and then selling them to help fund the refurbishment of others. So it's quite a big project, but an exciting one.
And how about people? You'll need people of various kinds of skills, experience in aviation. Do you find that you get plenty of volunteer helpers?
We do. I think once people have heard about us, they tend to want to know what they can do to help. Yeah, absolutely. We have people that can come with the skill to fly and teach people, but actually we need people to cut the grass. We need people to go and shake a bucket at a flying event or help in the office. Very lucky to have a team of 11 trustees that sit on the board, and that's a real mix of skills as well. So yeah, I think anybody that wants to help, we can find a way.
And for contact, they should just look for the name Aerobility.
Aerobility, yeah. If you put Aerobility into a search engine, you're sure to find our website, and there's lots of stuff in there that will tell you what we're up to and what you can do to get involved. Well,
it's a fascinating subject, and I think you've got a video as well to round off.
Absolutely, yeah. I've just thought I'd leave you with a short video that I suppose explains everything we've just been talking about, but it actually puts it into pictures. So it's a great film, and I hope you enjoy it.
Well, I'm going to sit back and do just that. And before we go, Shona, can I thank you warmly, congratulate you and Aerobility on all that you're doing. And it's fascinating to hear about your own flying as well.
No, you're very welcome. It's great to be a part, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Well, and this thanks to you go from the Aviation Festival, and the team AOP have asked me to give thanks to you, thanks to all the speakers this year, thanks to everyone who's watched and enjoyed. And they say they'll be back again in spring next year, celebrating Scapa Flow 2022. So in the meantime, thank you again, Shona, and I'm going to sit back and look forward to a journey into the skies with Aerobility. Thank you and goodbye now.
Whatever the disability and whatever the social background, we will get people in the air, not just as a passenger, but as a pilot. For a disabled person, it can seem impossibly beyond their reach to do something as extraordinary as handling the controls of an aircraft in flight. The charity turns the dream of flying into an exhilarating and fulfilling reality, and in doing so, makes a genuine impact on people's lives. Our special aircraft, hoists, training techniques and commitment enable Aerobility to work with every conceivable disabling condition. Outcomes are powerful, yet simple, planting the seed of ability.
Even amongst the able-bodied community, it's not every person who can say, I've been flying today, but we enable disabled people to be able to say, yes, I flew. I took control of that aircraft, and that's really important. And we have anecdotal evidence that people perhaps who are still at school, their schoolwork has improved as a result of flying with us. People who have managed to finally get the confidence to go out and get a job after being unemployed for many years. So there are these added benefits to what we do, but also flying's great fun.
Aerobility aims to use the gift of flight as a tool for improving the lives of those with a disability or illness. Whatever the age, or whatever the disability, be it physical, sensory, learning, or even mental, we give people the chance to fly.
When I saw Aerobility, I thought, if there's an institution like Aerobility, then my dream is a possible reality. So Aerobility kind of said yes to my dream, and they offered me a lot of hope.
Aerobility is a fantastic opportunity. Even if you're not initially into aircraft and aeroplanes, what it also does for you is show you all the different jobs involved in aircraft and airfields, and it provides you with practical confidence throughout his whole life.
Buzz Aldrin introduced Aerobility to me, and as soon as I heard about it, I knew I had to be involved. And when I met Mike, I fell in love with Aerobility.
Aerobility are unique in the fact that we own the aircraft, we operate the aircraft, and we have, because we are a user-led organisation with disabled people ourselves, we understand and empathise with our clients, and for that reason we provide a service that I think is probably second to none.
From a one-off experience flight, through a long-term flight training programme, from a group simulator session to a year-long education programme, we're there for people for however long they need us.